everyone, and welcome to another edition of Crew Travel right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Rhea. I am your host, and I'm very pleased to welcome back Lee Harris from ATPI Travel. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. It is the start of the Easter holidays here, so it's chaos, shall we say. And you may also hear some building works outside. It's not my house that's being done, it's the next door neighbours. So just in case you hear anything, that's what it is.
That's all right. I can usually edit that out in the process. Yeah, I mean, what a chaotic world we're living in right now. It's just up and down and all the way around. And we've got yacht shows coming up. And I mean, you don't know what's happening one day from the next right now.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, literally day to day, things are changing. It doesn't help with the tariffs coming in. That's going to affect airlines, airports, and flights. So yeah, it's everything sort of moving goalposts, etc. Yeah, it's not fun at the moment. It's difficult to say the least.
Well, you may have missed it, but I think sometime last night in the U.S., President Trump decided to hold off on those tariffs for 90 days.
I did see that, yes. It's just a 10% at the moment, isn't it? It's not the higher tariffs just yet, other than, is it China, Mexico, and Canada, the three countries that are still...
China, no, I think the other ones, whatever tariffs they had before, but China has now increased to something like 125% tariffs. So
I think we can safely say China have annoyed America somehow.
Well, I think it's safe to say that one's going to heat up. And I think there's been some heavier talk from the Chinese side than there was from the U.S. side. And I don't think that President Trump was quite expecting to get that kind of reaction. I think, in general, knowing the Americans, nothing against the Americans, but I think they've sort of been brought up to think that they are sort of the leader of the world. They are the big brother of the world, and what they say goes. And they sort of have that mentality. And I think that there is quite a bit of shock that China is saying, you know what, we're prepared to go even further than just a trade war. And they weren't expecting that. So it'll be interesting to see how those dynamics sort of escalate in the coming days.
Yeah, exactly right. It's like a massive game of chicken, isn't it? So it'll be, like you say, interesting to see what's going to happen.
Yes, but we can't dwell on that because we have no control over that.
Indeed. No, we don't.
But heading on into travel, of course, it wouldn't be a travel show without a little bit of strike action. What's going on?
Yeah, unfortunately. So, yeah, Trade Union Unite has warned of major disruption at Gatwick during the Easter weekend. That's as more than 100 operations workers prepare to strike. Red handling staff, including baggage handlers and flight dispatchers, are set to take action from Good Friday on April the 18th until the early hours of Tuesday, April the 22nd, with Unite citing issues including mishandling of the company's pension scheme. Now, the striking staff, who are said to handle about 50 flights a day, include those working as baggage handlers, check-in staff, and flight dispatchers for Norwegian Air, Delta Airlines, TAP Air Portugal, and an airline called Air Peace. Never heard of them, I've got to say. I'm not quite sure where they fly to. But what we always say, we would always advise any crew who are travelling just to keep in contact with their airline or their travel provider for future updates.
Well, I mean, when people strike, they always know the best time. I mean, France tends to, concentrate in about August time. So you're always sort of expecting that. And if there's anybody that really has a major beef, they try to focus that in around Christmas. So, of course, it's Easter holidays.
Indeed. That's right. Yeah. The strike, whilst is going to be your busiest time, it makes perfect sense, I suppose.
Yeah. If you want to create the most disruption, make sure it's a time when most people are traveling. And Delta Airlines has some news.
Yeah, so Delta Airlines have confirmed it has axed plans for capacity growth this year, given the lack of economic clarity and a reduction in corporate confidence. Announcing first quarter results for the 3 months to March, Delta Airlines Chief Executive Ed Bastian said the first quarter unfolded differently than initially expected. Now, obviously, we know Delta is the first airline to announce economic cutbacks due to the uncertainty in world markets, but rest assured we are likely to see many other airlines follow in the coming weeks, which we'll keep you updated here on Yachting International Radio.
Well, I know that there has been about a 75% decrease of travel between the U.S. Between Canada and the U.S. And that is definitely affecting all of those border towns that sort of border the Canadian border. We're going to see a huge amount of I mean, already they're canceling flights. They're canceling, new routes that were announced last year that were going to be happening
Yeah.
this year. Those flights have been canceled. Those routes have been canceled. And now even routes that have been existing for years are being canceled. So it's going to be a very, very interesting, I don't know, year or 4 years, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely to the end of this year, it's going to be interesting to see how the airlines all react. We can see Delta already starting putting in places to just cut capacity for now. Like I said, other airlines are going to follow. We're going to see more routes cancelled or put on hiatus, as they're likely say. They won't cancel them all completely. But put on hiatus. But not only that, it's also people traveling into the US as well. We're hearing stories of people being denied entry or finding it a lot more difficult to get B1, B2 visas. So yeah, it's going to be a really difficult year this year, I think, for airlines, for airports, and for travellers as well, because obviously that knock-on effect is going to hit them hard.
Well, one of the things that in doing some of my research, they have the right, according to a lawyer out of Canada, at the border, if they ask to check your electronic devices and check your social media accounts, et cetera, they have a right to do that.
Yeah, apparently so. Well, I know that there was three German, I think they were students traveling a couple of months ago or a month ago. All three got detained, and it was purely for their social media activity. Their political views on not just on the US but other areas of the world as well. They got detained, and they got deported as well because it didn't align with US values, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean that is something to be aware of, and for me, I had to make sure that I didn't even transit through the US, because if they looked at my social media, I'd be in some trouble.
Yeah, let's not go by the US for you.
Oh, well, it is what it is. You know what? I mean, I'm so glad I'm Canadian, because, you can be the biggest loudmouth on the face of the planet. And I think they just kind of look at people like me and, indulge us. Honestly, it's not
They
even.
just need to look at you. They know what's coming.
Well, and I think it's more of, yeah, okay, whatever. That's sort of the Canadian attitude, right? It's like,
Yeah.
well, whatever. Until you do something that actually impacts somebody else. But speaking your mind doesn't necessarily impact anybody. So you get to go.
Yeah.
And American Airlines has some news.
Yeah, this could be actually a game changer for people traveling or transiting through the US. American Airlines is partnering with US Customs and Border Protection to launch an international remote baggage screening initiative, which aims to improve the efficiency of transiting through US airports. The initiative is being piloted this week on American Airlines daily flights from Sydney Airport to Los Angeles International Airport, and is expected to be expanded to other cities soon. With the new initiative, CBP staff will be able to view checked baggage X-ray images taken at foreign airports and review them remotely before an aircraft lands. Basically, this means that passengers arriving into the US on foreign flights will not have to recheck their bags before boarding their connecting flight. Upon arrival, and provided the bag has not been referred to CBP for further inspection, passengers will just have to clear passport control and a Transportation Security Administration checkpoint for carry-on baggage and passenger security screening to take their next flight. So no need to recollect bags and check them in again when you get to an American airport.
Now, I think that's one of the biggest things. I know that we booked my travel from Palma to Canada, and I know that I have to get my bags in Barcelona and then transfer over. That's such a pain, to be able to know that when you're walking into an airport, no matter how many legs of that journey you have, to walk into an airport and drop off your luggage and know that they've got that. You don't have to worry about it until you reach the other end. It's such I guess it just sort of gives you peace of mind, really.
It does. Yeah, exactly right. Oh, it's so much easier. You don't have to, once you get to, in your instance, if it was free checked, when you get to Barcelona, it's nice and simple. You wouldn't have to recollect your bags if it was free checked. Unfortunately, it's not. It just makes the whole process simpler, easier, more relaxing, than having to worry about getting your bag, rechecking it in. So it is a pain, but hopefully this American Airlines trial is going to work, because, like I said, it will be a game changer for people who are transiting the US, whether it be they transit to another American city or transit to the Caribbean or somewhere, especially for the Caribbean season. It would be a complete and utter game changer.
Yeah. Well, I'm a nervous flyer, so I'm just going to be panicking, I'm sure, always. Anyways, move in Delta Airlines, check-in times.
Yeah, so Delta Airlines is advising passengers with checked bags to arrive even earlier than usual at the airport by introducing a significant change to its baggage check-in policy for domestic flights. Now, effective April the 8th, the airline has set early deadlines for passengers to check their bags before departure, making an important shift for those flying within the United States. Travellers should be aware of the new costs to ensure they don't face delays or potential issues at the airport. Now, currently, Delta's check-in page on its website lists the minimum check-in time as 30 minutes before departure for most flights. That's with a few exceptions. However, from April the 8th, they have changed it now to update its policy to require checked bags to be checked in at least 45 minutes before departure for all domestic flights. This new rule is part of the airline's broader effort to streamline airport operations and enhance the efficiency of flight departures. Now, for passengers not checking in baggage, the standard check-in deadline remains 30 minutes prior to departure. So anybody with checked baggage, make sure you're there 45 minutes before departure, not 30. Otherwise, you will miss your flight.
Right. Well, I mean, aside from the strike action and less flights, well, never mind. It's not a great week of travel this week overall, is it?
No, I mean, a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, there's a couple of positives there, but also a couple of negatives as well, which we're likely to see sort of week on week, I think, what with the economic situation. It's and run up to Easter and all the rest of it. So likely more strike action next week, likely more airlines, cutting their growth expectations, etc. Maybe some routes being cancelled. But it makes it interesting for us anyway, week on week, to have something to talk about.
I think that's probably the worst bit is sort of the flights that will be canceled that will make it harder to transit between areas for all crew. They usually like to, if they are on rotation or they've just gotten hired and it's literally they want to be there as quickly as they can. And if you've got certain routes that are canceled, it makes it more difficult because you've got to divert through other major centers.
Yeah, exactly right. It does. Yeah. There's going to be a knock-on effect. Undoubtedly, it's going to happen. So, but get yourself a decent travel provider, and we'll make sure we manage it for you.
Right. Well, and if you have any travel questions, please do reach out to Lee. We'll provide all of his information below this interview when it airs. Lee, I want to say thank you once again for all your valuable advice.
Always a pleasure.
And it's really nice to see you like weekly now. It's such
it's
a shock to the system.
No, I know. You'll get fed up with me soon. You'll ask me you're doing it monthly.
Yeah, no, we do enjoy this because it gives me that chance to sort of like unload, right? Because I don't speak to anybody else for the rest of the week. So
yeah, the thing is that people only see the 15, 20 minutes of this podcast, but we're actually talking like 3 hours beforehand.
Usually, yeah. Today, no, because I'm really busy. I've been up since 3:00 this morning working.
Dedication, that is. Absolute dedication.
No, it's just that there's not enough hours in the day to do all that I've got to get done.
I know. That's right. Now, if President Trump could just add extra hours into the day, that'd be really helpful.
Right? I know. Anyways, Lee, I hope you have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you next week right back here. Are you coming to Palm and Boat Show?
I'm not personally. We were looking into another staff member going, but I don't know where we're at with that yet. So potentially, maybe, not sure.
It's good to see you so decisive today.
Yeah, I was very decisive then, wasn't I?
Yeah. Anyways, thank you everybody for tuning in. On behalf of myself and Lee Harris, we thank you. And you've been watching another edition of Crew Travel right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Rhea. I have been your host. We'll see you again next week.